Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 1485B, and today's date is January 30th, 2018, and the title of the episode is The Countdown Has Begun. The Deep State Has No Option. Let's get into the economic collapse, political, and geopolitical news. Well, as we can see, the Deep State, they really have no options left. If we look at everything that has been happening right now, we can see that it's all coming down around the deep state. And really, there's no way out for them at this point. They tried everything. They're using the corporate media like crazy. They're pushing their propaganda. We see the noose around the now former FBI Deputy Director Andrew McCabe appears to be getting tighter. And we see that, once again, the whole thing, because of what has been happening here with all these investigations, with the text messages, it's all starting to fall apart. Now, Andrew McCabe's pension is worth about $1.8 million, and he is set to receive this $1.8 million, and this is just unbelievable that he's still going to get his pension after what has happened here. And all these individuals, I think we need to take a closer look at what has been going on, and maybe these individuals should not be getting a pension if, once again, they are tried, they're convicted, and things, really go south for them. We know that Trump has received the FISA memo right now. It is on his desk, and the White House is saying that they have about 5 days to look at it, to declassify the material, so the public can take a look at it. And once again, people are hoping that he's going to read this in the State of the Union. Maybe he will, maybe he won't. But once again, it really doesn't matter because he's going to be pushing this out there. And from all indications, it seems that he has no problem with releasing this. Now, we also see that the FBI text messages, they talk about destroying evidence, scramble to find the hard drives for, most likely, Hillary Clinton. And right now, the Department of Justice is withholding over 85% of the text messages between Peter Strzok and Lisa Page, having submitting just 7,000 of the 50,000 recovered by the department. This does not include emails on personal devices. Now, we understand right now that the corporate media, they are the mouthpiece of the deep state, the cabal. And they use the corporate media. And again, the corporate media doesn't do any type of investigative reporting. They just listen to what they are being told. Now, it is no secret that over the last 4 decades, mainstream media has been consolidated from dozens of competing companies to only 6. Hundreds of channels, websites, news outlets, newspapers, and magazines, making up 90% of all media, is controlled by very few people, giving the Americans, the people of America, the illusion of choice. Now, while 6 companies controlling most everything the Western world consumes in regards to media may sound like a sinister arrangement, the Swiss Propaganda Research Center, SPR, has just released information that it's even worse than that. The research group was able to tie all these media companies to a single organization. And guess what this organization is? The Council on Foreign Relations, CFR. For those who may be unaware, the CFR is a primary member of the circle of Washington think tanks promoting endless war. As former Army Major Todd Pierce describes, this group acts as primary provocateurs using psychological suggestiveness to create a false narrative of danger from some foreign entity, with the objective being to create paranoia within the U.S. population that it is under imminent threat of attack or takeover. When looking at the SPR and the chart that they laid out, what they see is that there's a single organization which is so vast that it is no mystery as to how these elite psychopaths guide Americans into accepting endless war at the expense of their mothers, their fathers, their sons, and daughters. top journalists and executives from all major media companies are integrated into the CFR. And when we look at the chart, we can see this. The CFR has even more control in the mainstream media than even the Bilderberg Group and the Trilateral Commission. And we can see that all these things all feed in to one group here. Now, as SPR points out, Richard Harwood, former managing editor of the Washington Post, wrote about the Council on Foreign Relations, recognizing that its members most likely correspond to what one might call the ruling establishment of the United States. Harwood continued, the membership of these journalists in the Council, however they may think of themselves, is an acknowledgement of their active and important role in public affairs and their ascension into the American ruling class. They do not merely analyze, interpret foreign policy for the United States. They help make it. Now, think about this for a second. This group of unaccountable, unelected, professional propagandists in America doesn't simply analyze U.S. government policy, they make it. Now, while only 5% of the members of CFR work within the media, as SPR points out, that is all they need to implement the will of its other members. That includes several U.S. presidents and vice presidents of both parties, almost all foreign, defense, and finance ministers, most chiefs of staff and commanders of the U.S. military and NATO, nearly all national security advisors, CIA directors, UN ambassadors, Fed chairmen, World Bank presidents, and directors of the National Economic Council, some of the most influential members of Congress, numerous media managers and top journalists, numerous prominent academics, numerous executives from think tanks, universities, NGOs, and Wall Street, and key members of the 9/11 Commission and the Warren Commission. And Trump was never a public member of the CFR. Starting to get why they hate him so much. But there are people within his administration that are part of the CFR. Elaine Chao, United States Secretary of Transportation, Jamie Dimon, member of the Strategic and Policy Forum, Jim Donovan, Deputy Treasury Secretary, Larry Fink, member of Strategic and Policy Forum, Neil M. Gorsuch, Supreme Court Justice, Vice Admiral Robert S. Harwood, National Security Advisor. So there are individuals within his administration, but he is not part of the CFR. This is very interesting. But we can see who is controlling everything, where the deep state, where all of this leads. And we can see right now, they don't like what he's doing and others in the Trump administration that are doing. People who want to restore America. Yes, this is hard to believe. Yes, people always question this, but we can see from the actions, forget about what is being said, the actions show you what's going on. Now, everything's not going to happen all at once, which everyone wants everything to happen all at once. Well, why doesn't he just do this? Why doesn't this just happen? Why doesn't that? Because there's still individuals that are fighting against this. And you can't do everything at once. If you ever worked in a corporation and your manager or a senior manager, and you're just coming into a position and there's all these people that don't want to work with you who try to stop you from doing things, you understand what is going on here. Now, the Trump administration, they've declined to impose new sanctions on Russia. Now, before, they were placing sanctions on Russia, going along with everything. What happens is, at a certain point, when you have certain control over certain things, you can finally say, you know what, we're not doing this anymore. We're not funding the Kurds. We're not funding the moderate rebels anymore. We're not placing sanctions on Russia. You can start to do this very, very slowly because you broke down those areas. You've taken control over those areas, and now you can do it. And we can see that this is continually happening here. Now, we need to understand that the deep state, the cabal, they have very few options left. Actually, when I look at this, it looks like they have no options left. They're using propaganda left and right. Out of the corporate media right now, they're trying to make the case that North Korea, the regime of North Korea, is closing the gap in developing critical technologies needed to create a field long-range ballistic missile capable of reaching the U.S. Now, if you notice, they keep saying this, that they're going to be able to develop this, they're going to reach the United States, and they're going to be able to hit the United States. And this is coming out of the Washington Times. This is an article that came out today. And they want you to believe and think, remember who's controlling all of this, what is happening here. North Korea can fire a missile and hit the United States. We also have the DHS chief out there saying that it's only a matter of time before the Islamic State launches a chemical attack, not in Syria, not in the UK, but here in the United States. Because they're getting ready to do something. Now, think about what is happening here. And think about all the things that we are seeing, what Q has said. We have the Super Bowl coming up. We know that the security that is handling the Super Bowl has been changed, swapped out to GS4, which handled the security that Omar Mateen was a part of in the Orlando nightclub shooting. We also understand there was a missile drill that went live in Hawaii. People are saying that there was a missile that was actually shot off from the Guam area, and it wasn't a mistake. There was actually a missile incoming. Now, this could have been a test to see how people reacted, what people do, what the government, and I'm talking about Trump, what they do, and they wanted to see what that reaction was. Or there was a missile that was headed towards Hawaii, and it was intercepted. Because we know the NBC crew was in the bunker at the same exact time in Hawaii, waiting for something to happen. We know that Bill Clinton was there. Now, I think that was set up so he could say, hey, we had nothing to do with it. Why would I fire a missile at myself? That makes no sense. So we are in the clear with this false flag. We also understand that they're coming out with the Islamic State once again, saying that they're going to be using chemical attacks. We also understand the UK is continually talking about cyber attacks on the financial systems. They're talking about cyber attacks on the financial systems and the infrastructure in the United States. So there are so many things that could happen, and the number of options the deep state has right now, they're not that many. And what they will need to cover all of this up, especially when that memo comes out, they're going to need a distraction that is so large that it jams the airwaves for weeks on end. And hopefully they can get us into a war. That's what they're hoping. If they can't get us into a war, think about this. They already nudged the economy. They already know that the economy is coming down. They know that's built on an illusion. This whole thing's a complete lie. If they have a cyber attack, which all they need to do, because they already have malware inserted in all these systems, we know there's this kill switch for the stock market, the NASDAQ, the BAT system. They developed that a while ago. We know that there have been test runs on the infrastructure. I believe the 2003 blackout in the Eastern Seaboard, that was a test for later on to see if they're able to do it. They like to test these things ahead of time. All they need to do to distract everyone and to bring down the popularity of Trump, to bring down the popularity of the administration, to basically switch everything into their favor, is to distract everyone with the economy coming down. And if they do this and they bring the economy down and the stock market falls, it crashes, we have this huge correction, guess what? On Trump's watch, the economy came down. Elections, midterm elections are coming up. The next bit of elections, he's not going to be able to do anything. And they might even take this a step further. All they have to do is say, because of his incompetency, because he didn't know what he was doing, he wasn't fit to be president, the entire system came down, and they will push an impeachment. We know the State of the Union is tonight. Now, once again, everyone is gathered all in one place. Maybe something will happen there. We don't know. Because if he decide, or if he's decided already, to read the memo out loud to the public, most of the public might say, this is fake, this is whatever. But these people in the deep state, they might say, we can't let this happen, and they might try to stop it. And we'll just have to wait to see what happens. Now, these are all different scenarios. I'm not saying any of these are going to actually happen, but these are the options the deep state might use. We know they create gigantic false flags to distract everyone from whatever is going on. Look what happened 9/11. There's many different agendas associated with 9/11, but one of the big ones was the $2 trillion missing that came out on September 10th from the Pentagon, and it was completely forgotten about. And all the paperwork was destroyed in the Pentagon because guess what? That part of the building was completely wiped out. So we see right now they are willing to do anything they possibly can to keep their control, to keep their power. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.